Good morning. This is Justin at Seeking Context, and I want to provide everyone an update on the follow on to the episode we released last week called 910 the day before. As we mentioned, or I mentioned at the end of that episode, we were planning to release a perspective on the stories of our lives. And so we thought that by delaying the release of the episode for just a bit while we add a little more context to the most impactful story of our lifetime, that would be a worthwhile thing to do. So I apologize. I've had a lot of people say, why did you do that cliffhanger ending? I want to hear the second episode. And we've got really good, interesting stories that are already put together, but I just want to add a bit more to it. So apologize for that delay. And in the meantime, if you've got your own experience, whether you were a first responder or whether you were in the government, or you just had an interesting experience on the day because of whatever it was that happened to you as a citizen of the world, then you could leave a comment in our Facebook page or on YouTube or Twitch, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Some of the interesting stories we've heard secondhand. There was an F-16 going from depot, which is where you repair the airplane. It has to go through a depot every few years, taking it back to his base, who was airborne somewhere over the Midwest. And we have a story that this person was flying around looking for Flight 93. They sort of devised a plan. The only thing he could do was drop his external fuel tanks, but maybe that could have had an impact. So that's an interesting story. There's another story from, I think it's Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, where President Bush went to, I believe, Barksdale, and then I think he flew up to Offutt. Not sure of all the details, but when he was on his way, they had to clear all of the airspace over Nebraska. And there's a story of some poor Cessna pilot that didn't know that the emergency had happened, and an F-16 formed up right next to him, and the control tower asked for the description, and they gave the tail number and a physical description of the pilot. And so I can imagine that guy's surprise when a fighter formed up right next to him. I've also heard a story of a fairly wealthy individual that landed somewhere in Colorado. All aircraft were directed to land on 9/11, if you recall, and then nobody could fly for like 3 or 4 days. And so this guy buys a car at a local dealership because rental cars were sold out. Like, there's no possibility of getting a rental car. And he didn't want to wait 4 days. We didn't know if the world was ending, honestly. Was this attack a one-time thing? What was going to happen the next day? People really wanted to get home to their families, and there was this massive uncertainty. And so he just bought a new car, drove it to Chicago, and then the dealer, the story comes third hand through the dealer to somebody in my family that talked to the dealer, that the guy shows back up a few weeks later, same car, sold it back to him for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 less, and took off in his private jet to go back home. So there's all kinds of interesting stories from the time, and we'd love to hear yours. And again, I'm sorry about the delay on the release of our episode, but Caden and I are working on it diligently and excited to bring you a really interesting episode as soon as we get it finished. And so that's all I've got for today. And until then, I'll be out in the world seeking to put the events and stories of our lives in context. See you as soon as I can. Bye.